With big steps we are getting closer to the top 10. Besides 2 exceptional good episodes from Season 3, we have only episodes from the first season in this part of the ranking. So let's dive right in with the 2 episodes from Season 3. The next episode was an easy catch. I mean, this was maybe the best flash-forward episode of the whole show, and sadly the last. Fear was a perfect beginning for Season 3. We had that mystery who shot Emily, and I must admit after all the episodes before I was not surprised Daniel shot her. Sure, I assumed Victoria could have been the one, but that was too obvious. Another thing I enjoyed was the ruse with Aiden betraying Emily and working together with Victoria.
What are you doing here?
Same thing as you. Looking to destroy the girl next door.
I really fell for that one. And poisoning Conrad, ruining his chance at being governor, was just beautifully executed.
Which I couldn't have done without you.
This one episode really made up for all the mess that was Season 2. Even more important for me, it made me fall in love with the show again. Especially because it went back to its soapy origin. And we had some great new targets in this season. The only thing I really could not enjoy was Jack's reaction to Emily. First, they rob us of the aftermath of Emily's confession in the Season 2 finale.
It has everything to do with me. Don't throw your life away because of the choices that I've made. I'm Amanda Clark.
And then this. Emily gets a kiss and after it a big smash in the face.
But I didn't know how I felt about you till this moment. And I'm sorry. I just don't feel anything.
Jack is very rude and brutal here. And makes it clear that a happy end for the two is very far away. And do not get me started on this stupid ultimatum. I get Jack is right with everything he says here.
Did Amanda get what she deserved? Did Declan? Well, once the Graysons start connecting dots, because they know what Amanda Clark was trying to do with them. They just killed the wrong girl. Finish this by the end of the summer, then leave for good.
But why does he set this deadline? I mean, he could have told her she should go and never come back instead of letting her going on with her revenge agenda. And why is Emily even agreeing to this bet on her revenge agenda?
Gave me an ultimatum.
What are you gonna do?
Have the wedding of the century. Take down Victoria once and for all.
And what I really enjoyed throughout this whole season were the allusions to the first season. Like here when Emily is picking up Nolan from jail like he did more than a decade ago with teenage Amanda.
Only took 10 years to return the favor.
Was kind of hoping you'd have to repay this one never.
But buying Nolan a house gets points for continuity. And I must say I love this house better than the one we saw in Season 1 and 2. The view is spectacular and I love the pool.
Especially if this is your new summer pad.
Not mine.
For serious?
Memory serves. I still owe you a house.
Quick episode ranking. 1 red Sharpie for the flash forward and soapy elements. We also have a shocking plot twist with Conrad's Huntington disease and Aiden being back as Victoria's ally. Dressing up is involved and we get of course the introduction of Patrick as Victoria's long-lost firstborn son. Of course the other flash-forward episode from Season 3 had to be on the good list. I really love the theatrics in this episode Disgrace and the flash-forward with the opera evening. But let's begin with what was not so good. Which is bringing Stevie into the fold. I really liked her introduction and after that flashback with David thought or better hoped she would stick around for longer and become one of Emily's allies. I mean, she is Jack's mom. By the way, a storyline that was really redundant and one of the weakest plot twists in Season 3. Anyway.
Emily Grayson, why don't you tell me who you really are?
I really hope the answer of this question was that Emily tells her the truth. Yeah, she is an alcoholic and an unstable person par excellence. But no one besides Jack and Emily herself hates Conrad and Victoria more than Stevie. Conrad destroyed her life by making her lose her license and kept her from helping David. And Victoria stole her husband from her.
Though I guess you're still trying to take what I already have.
So, who would have been a better ally? And of course, I hated to see Jack and Margot as a pair. Not that I would have liked to see Emily and Jack in this season together. I mean, Aiden was still in the picture and for most of the time Emily and Jack fought about her revenge agenda and how badly it still affects Jack's life. But Margot and Jack just do not fit together. It is like Emily says, they come from different worlds. And it becomes clearer and clearer that both have other priorities in life. Jack is a family man. Always has been. I mean, he sacrificed everything for his father and his brother Declan in Season 1. And he turned his life upside down for Fomanda and baby Carl. Daniel is a far better fit for Margot. especially in season 3 when they team up to bring her magazine Voulez to the States and make it a success.
I know this smile. It is pride.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it feels pretty damn good. Best part is the words Grayson and Global aren't anywhere in sight.
I've grown up in publishing and you're a natural. No, but try another one like that and you will find that I too have claws.
Okay.
So, these scenes with Margot meeting Stevie and Jack meeting Pascal and this friendly little chat here was just very boring and artificial. But what worked was all the stuff with Emily, Victoria and Daniel. I really loved the first try of getting rid of Emily for good.
Because that was taken yesterday.
It was my assumption that Aiden had left town after I kicked him out of the house.
Well, I'm glad he stuck around because I finally have my ticket out of this marriage.
May I ask you a favor? Please give me a front row seat when you tell her.
We're getting a divorce.
Her fake performance was really thrilling and I wished they did not just tease us with this trial threat. And we would have actually seen an over-the-top testimony of Emily in court against Daniel and the Graysons.
I did it all for Daniel. After everything we've been through, all of the anguish, who could blame me for finding comfort in the arms of someone else? Consider that a preview to my testimony.
I mean, she already knows after season 1 enough of the Grayson crimes to put them in jail. But I really enjoyed the opera evening and Victoria's black dress was spectacular. As I said, I like that little side plot here with Pascal trying to woo her back.
I knew you couldn't resist.
Well, fine art's meant to be displayed.
And appreciated.
Keep your distance, Pascal. This dress may touch my body, but you'll never be so lucky.
Though I cannot understand this French connection, but it was fun seeing Conrad jealous again and someone else be behind Victoria after her divorce. I mean, she is still good looking for her age and we have seen before that her old flames still have feelings for her. They had established her image as a mousetrap for men pretty well in season 1.
Don't even try to deny it.
I'm not denying it. Did it for you.
Everything all right?
I'm just getting some water. I'll be right upstairs.
But most spectacular was of course Emily's dress and the scene with her running out of the opera being chased by Victoria and Daniel and the press. I really love how they made this scene even more dramatic by using slow motion and intercuts to the opera on stage. I usually dislike this opera theme in movies because they overused it for my taste after those classics Pretty Woman and Philadelphia. But here it was fitting, not only because going to the opera is a pasture of the rich, but because of the original story The Count of Monte Cristo. One of his takedowns took place at the opera as well. And the twist that it was all Emily's plan was just the cherry on top.
I just want to make sure you're okay.
No, I'm fine. Everything went as expected.
Of course. You were behind it.
Some of the best episodes of season 3 felt like season 1. Like this one. So yeah, for me season 3 still is the season when Revenge went back on track. Quick ranking check. We have a new flash forward. And conclusion of her story arc with the blackouts. Which also was a major plot twist since Emily was behind all of it. Everybody is dressing up for the opera and we have some soapy elements like the press hunt. Tyler's outburst at Daniel's birthday party made duress clearly to one of the best episodes of Revenge and one of my all-time favorite.
You do not want to mess with me right now.
You should get out. You're not welcome here.
Give it to me now, you bitch!
Out of my face.
The first conclusion of Tyler's story arc was surely intriguing to watch from start to finish. First, with the flash forward, they used a lot more in season 1 than I remembered, and second, because we have this underlining tension if Tyler would really kill someone.
Let's call it truth or die. I ask a question and you tell the truth. If you don't, someone dies. Do it! Or I swear, once again, someone is going to die because you were too weak to own up to your lies. Question is, who?
Sure, killing Emily off was the most unlikely outcome here. But anyone else? There is not much more to say here cause I just loved his confrontation with Emily and how she is toying with him the whole time.
You know the Graysons can't stand you. Leeching off of them all summer, who can blame them? Daniel told me you've always given him the creeps, and even Ashley thinks that you're a lying hypocrite. And as for me, well, I've always seen you for exactly what you are. An impotent little misfit who's gonna spend the rest of his life on the outside looking in.
Emily just knows how to push the right buttons to make him explode. Although I enjoyed how Emily used almost every situation to her advantage in season 1, I think it was more realistic that she had to face more and more uncontrollable threats during her revenge in the later seasons. Yes, they had to establish her as the mastermind in the first season. But here it almost feels a bit too much, cause she is making Tyler think he is holding all the cards while in fact she is far ahead of his game.
Emily Thorne. Poor little rich girl next door. You've had a target on my head since the day we met. Now you can see how it feels.
And this episode really stands out because this scene is almost like a theatrical play. All the great close-ups that tell us how the main cast feels without disturbing Tyler's rant. Just terrific work from all people involved here, from the actors to the editor and director. For many, this one might have been the best episode of Revenge. By the way, the prologue and the title with this juridical term duress is a nice hint at what's to come with Daniel's murder trial. I like how they combine justice and Emily's revengenda, which is a quest for justice in its own way. I think the later seasons went a bit too far from this core story. Cause essentially the Count of Monte Cristo is a story that contemplates about justice and if there is any real justice in life. By the way, I love the Beethoven play from the prologue. Nice discrepancy, the calm play against the very disturbing scene, Tyler threatening to kill anyone at Daniel's birthday party.
Defense lawyers use the term duress to describe the use of force, coercion, or psychological pressure exerted on a client in the commission of a crime. When duress is applied to the emotionally unstable, the result can be as violent as it is unpredictable.
And we have some of the most beautiful Metallica covers here. Not that much fitting for the scene, but the tone gets me.
Duress impacts relationships in one of two ways. It either tears people apart or strengthens their connection.
Cause suddenly all main and supporting roles are mistrusting each other. Too bad they not used this better in the following episodes. They always make us aware of Fomander and Charlotte being that close to Emily and her true identity. Yet they make no real use of it. I mean, both girls could have demanded the truth from Emily in this first season and only one of them gets it. I enjoyed the little twist Nolan made us aware of, that her gun was actually empty because she staged the whole thing.
Found it interesting that the police didn't find any bullets in the gun. Your gun? Thought you always kept that thing loaded.
Not always.
You never cease to amaze and terrify me, Maestro.
Quick score check. You see how good this episode actually is because it is one of the few who gets all 3 red Sharpies in the story score. We have 2 red Sharpies in my soapy meter because we have a bit dressing up for Daniel's birthday party. Though it is a beach party, there are no fancy dresses involved. And I still do not like Emily's striped dress. I mean, anyone like her with that sporty figure would look fat in such a dress. The shocking plot twist is of course Tyler's outburst, cause at first watch I really did not see this one coming. Luckily we have no changes in the character department cause Tyler actually did not kill anyone. The next 2 are actually 4 episodes because I have to confess I cheated a little bit with this ranking to get an even number. You maybe guessed, since this is already the 3rd video of this mini-series, that I am putting some episodes that I think belong together story-wise on one rank. Like these 2. Let's move back to the 2 episodes Treachery and Suspicion. The trouble and intriguing flashbacks Fomander brought into season 1 were really the best parts, besides Tyler of course. This pattern with 1 takedown per episode could have become dull very fast. So, it was smart to put up some major roadblocks for Emily. And they definitely done a better job in this season than in season 2. But let's begin with the few bad stuff of these 2 episodes. Lydia and this annoying photo from that Sylvester party in 2002. Bringing it back twice this season and later in season 3 was just enerving. Like the stuff with Ashley and Tyler. Them bonding against the Graysons. Fine, I was okay with it.
So the whole loyal employee thing is just an act?
My loyalties lie with Ashley.
You see how these people are? They smell blood in the water and you're as good as dead.
We're more alike than I thought.
But assuming the same of Emily, who really had that bad childhood and was in foster care, and UV was not quite cool. Did they hear anything about Emily's background? I mean, they act like they did not know anything about the stuff Victoria and Daniel found out about Emily. Did Emily never talk about this with Ashley? I doubt that. Better was this menage a trois between Nolan, Tyler and Ashley.
Oh my god.
Oh, hey, Ash. Love the dress.
Ashley, wait!
I really enjoyed this little game Tyler and Nolan are playing here. I think they both enjoyed it.
I took a page from the Angel of Revenge herself. Our boy is a bit of a con man. What he doesn't know is you can't con a con.
Sometimes Ashton Holmes makes me forget that he was the bad guy. Anyway, it was fun to watch how Nolan and Emily tried to keep Amanda in check and she always slipped away. Out of their control.
You've still got a problem, Ems. Or should I say, Ams? Even I'm getting confused. Since when do you take no for an answer?
It's not that easy with her.
You ever notice how whenever you want her to leave, girlfriend keeps popping up like the homicidal stripper version of Whack-A-Mole?
And even if she wanted to hurt Emily with this, it was a smart move, revealing herself to Jack and moving in with him. It was the only way after Emily rejected her to get a foot in and stay in the Hamptons. The only thing I dislike was the fear of losing this intriguing character. Because both Nolan and Emily wanted to get rid of her at the beginning.
Advice, take the money, ease on down the road.
Sorry, I like it here.
In case you hadn't noticed, she wants you gone. And when Emily wants somebody gone, believe me, they go. And usually in spectacular fashion.
In case you haven't noticed, I do things on my own terms. If Emily wants me gone, she might have to consider the ripple effect.
You know the drill by now. Quick ranking check, 2 red Sharpies for the plot since we have all the flashbacks and Frank's quest comes to an end. We have definitely some minor shocking plot twists after the death of Frank. Like Victoria sending the police to Emily and that prison time of Emily neither Daniel nor his parents were aware of.
After my parents died, I went through some pretty dark times. I ended up at Allenwood.
What's Allenwood?
It's a maximum security juvenile correctional facility. She's been hiding a criminal record, Daniel. You should be thanking me.
The only thing she was hiding is that her foster father abused her growing up. She spent 2 years in juvie for defending herself.
Then we have Nolan discovering Formunder's true identity and how Frank ended up being killed.
You ever heard of a guy named Frank Stevens?
Sorry.
Here's a clue. He's dead. These are bloodstains on the clothes. Who the hell are you?
Last but not least, we have a major hookup for Jack, cause Formunder is using his feelings for Amanda to stay in the Hamptons. The next 2 episodes, commitment and perception, with Emily and Nolan doubting her mission and how she deals with the fact of having a sister, was the most intriguing yet most unfulfilling storyline in season 1. Cause like Emily, the writers did not care that much to pursue this relationship.
So, the fact that Charlotte might be your sister makes absolutely no difference to you.
Half-sister, and no, it doesn't.
I mean till season 2 when her mother comes back, and season 4 with the return of her father. We are speaking of the only family member being left for Amanda. Why does she not run straight to Charlotte and tries to form a bond even for the sake of being Daniel's girlfriend? By the way, it is strange how little scenes Krista B. Allen has with Joshua Bowman. I mean, she is his younger sister and there is no real dynamic here. They even do not fight that much. But most intriguing in this episode was Emily's and Daniel's relationship. The first and third season was definitely the best for these two. And for all romantics and Emily shippers, season 1 is our favorite. Cause you can see especially in the engagement scene that her feelings for Daniel are real.
Was any of it real? What about when I proposed to you? Can't tell me that you weren't with me in that moment. It wasn't real.
And that Emily is constantly struggling with her emotions because she knows that this has to go down in a very ugly way for both of them.
For me, commitment has a shadow side, a darker drive that constantly asks the question, how far am I willing to go?
I mean, she had only one smooth way out of it, the one she told Nolan.
Maybe there's a better way to level Victoria than by marrying her son.
What do you plan to do with Daniel?
I'm gonna give him his ring back. Tell him that I need to give marrying into his family some more thought.
But in true revenge fashion, they undermine her plans by fueling the hate for Victoria, who can truly best be teased by Emily's relationship with Daniel. Really a trigger for that woman in all seasons. Like Victoria's relationship with David for Emily.
She wasn't unfaithful. That bastard forced himself on her.
Are you saying that he raped her?
I got pregnant with Charlotte as a result.
She said this to you.
You still want to marry into my crazy family?
More than ever.
What happened to pressing pause and regrouping?
Victoria told Daniel that my father raped her. That's how she became pregnant with Charlotte.
Wow. She threw a dead man under the bus? She's certainly committed.
So am I.
Anyway, the best part was of course the big reveal of Charlotte's origin as David Clarke's daughter and the introduction of Edward Grayson. I wonder why they did not expand his plot and made him aware of the conspiracy. I mean, he could have either been a part of it, which is very unlikely since how harsh he reacts on Conrad's and Victoria's ties to David and how this would affect the company's reputation.
Do I have to remind you what happened to this company the last time David Clarke's name was associated with it?
What would he say if he knew Conrad was behind all of it? He maybe would have fired him right away and turned him in himself. Or he could have known about this through Emily and had to decide if he helped Conrad bury this truth or use it against his son to get his grandson on board and help the firm recover from this second scandal. Anyhow, the first big Grayson dinner was ruined in a particular dramatic fashion, and I love that they involved nearly all of the main cast. Only Nolan and his sharp comments were missing. But I still love Jack's line and Emily's looks in this scene.
As misinformed as David Clarke was when Amanda saw you kissing him, but I guess it was more important to hide that from the world than to help the little girl that he left behind. Who needs imagination? I've seen the videotape, but you could have prevented that and you did nothing. If you don't stop telling lies about Amanda Clarke, I'm gonna start telling the truth about you.
Emily Van Camp really conveys all her emotions and makes us aware how much she cares for Charlotte and Jack in this moment. And how hilarious was her facial expression when Daniel retold Victoria's lie.
Murder and terrorism weren't his only crimes. What happened wasn't Mom's fault.
Is that the story you're spinning these days?
He really starts to annoy her with his trusting and naive character. I also still enjoy her stalking Daniel and how they used this part of her backstory against her in Season 3 when Nolan faked that infinity box for Victoria.
An article in the Harvard Crimson highlighting Daniel's freshman year. Imagine that's where you first set your sights on him.
They really made my heart stop when she was opening that box. But it was clever feeding her with real and fake information that only confirmed her suspicions. But back to the flashbacks on Emily and Daniel as students. I think this one flashback really established that cliché of Daniel as being just too naive and not keeping attention to details. I mean, how ridiculous was this, making him wanting to be a poet and drop out of financial classes, dismissing an easy and bright future at Grayson Global. Total cliché. Now to Jack and Fomander. On first watch I enjoyed this storyline because we did not know how this would turn out in the end.
What do you want me to say, Jack? I did it. I'm a thief, an arsonist, and now a fugitive, so call the cops if you want. Just give me the tape back.
Not until you tell me the truth. Why'd you come back here?
You want the whole truth, Jack? The truth is I've made mistakes. I've pretended to be something I'm not, and that little girl you loved, she's not me.
Yet rewatching the episodes it gets dull, this back and forth. I get that Emily is using every little opportunity to stir up trouble for this pair and keep them separated. By the way, this makes her look really unlikable and sometimes even cruel. 'Cause she knows that this could be a good opportunity for Amanda to get her life back on track. She must have seen what a good influence Jack has on her. Even worse, she puts Jack in danger with putting the blame on Amanda. Yeah, if you compare this to what happens in other seasons, this might seem no big deal. But Jack or Amanda could have been hurt much worse by Lee Moran.
What happened?
Jack had the crap beat out of him. He stumbled upon some guy rifling through Amanda's stuff, looking for, presumably, a set of hype videotapes.
Victoria did this.
No. You did this when you planted Treadwell's tapes.
I never meant for Jack to get hurt.
How much collateral damage are you willing to accept? I may have Jack's blood all over my jacket, but you've got it all over your hands.
One more memorable quote from Nolan in the first season. By the way, I love both scenes with Emily and Fomander being summoned to tea with Victoria. You can really see the different levels of information here between Emily and Fomander. How they react to threats and how people like Victoria react to them. With Emily it was all calm and an underlining tension. They circled around each other and Victoria kind of interrogate her, but on the other hand was very kind.
When was that exactly?
2005. Why do you ask?
I rode steeplechase when I was in boarding school at Montpelier. I'm curious what else we have in common. What are some of your other interests?
While Emily played her role perfectly of the naive young woman who just wants to be on Victoria's good side and do or tell nothing wrong for the sake of her relationship to Daniel. In contrast, the scene with Fomander. Victoria clearly tries to intimidate her from the start by putting up this tea time with fresh strawberries and cream. And Fomander walks in every trap. At first watch I thought Victoria was just thinking what an uncultured and rude person this girl was. Because she licked that spoon. I did not see the twist coming with Victoria testing her DNA to make sure she is really Amanda Clark.
I'll have the lab rush this right through.
There's no way that girl is David Clark's daughter. So you're no longer allergic. I remember a company picnic where one bite sent you straight to the emergency room. Your father was beside himself.
Fortunately, I outgrew that.
By the way, why did they just leave it there? Would have been cool if Madeleine Stowe and Margarita Levieva had more scenes together. Her outburst at the end telling Victoria everything Emily would have liked to tell her and the audience as well was just so on point.
Sit down.
I don't take orders from you.
And I love her dress and how she tried to disguise and adjust herself to this situation. Fomanda gives Victoria the benefit of the doubt. But like with Emily, Victoria is good at unhinging and upsetting people she mistrusts.
Actually, when I come to think of it, I'm not all that certain that little girl is you.
Another little scene I loved was Emily checking after Jack and telling Fomanda finally the truth. Though I think they did not use this as much as they could have. I get sending her away solves many problems for Emily and the writers. And I assume they planned on making her leave for good. Some still think this would have been better for the show. I disagree, but we will talk about this later, when we get to the first finale. Anyway, I love how open Emily is here and tries to repair their bond.
You need to go save yourself. And Jack. And if you care to, me, you know I'd do anything for you.
Actually, this scene works far better than any of the flashbacks with them after Fomanda got out of prison. Margarita Levieva does a great job here reacting to Emily's truth. The only thing that would have made this cooler if she had offered to help her bring the Graysons down. Yet I can understand that Emily A does not trust her and B wants her out of the way so Jack can be safe. It is the same reason why she did not reveal herself to Jack. Any connection to Amanda Clark brings the people she loves in danger. Even though I am no big fan of Emily and Jack as a pair, I must admit their story works better in season 1 than in any other season. Especially in this one, you can see how much Emily cares for him and does not want to harm him in any way. Yet this is the problem caused in a way by not telling him the truth and letting him hook up with Fomanda. She is hurting him far worse than these injuries. So, I admit I am a big fan of this complicated love triangle between her, Fomanda and Jack. Cause both Emily's care for Jack and each other may be more than for anyone else in their life. Quick ranking check. Though we have no traditional flashbacks with Amanda and her dad, the ones with Daniel as a student count for me. So 1 red Sharpie for the story. We have the introduction of a new character with Edward Grayson, Conrad Grayson's father. And Daniel's proposal surely counts as major hookup for Emily and Daniel, who get one step closer to marriage. Of course, the ruined Grayson dinner gave Emily and Victoria the chance to dress up. Emily's dress and her hairstyle belongs to one of my favorite looks for her. And Victoria looks astonishing female with that waves and the long elegant dress. Shocking plot twist and best soapy moment from season 1 is of course the revelation of Charlotte's real father David Clark and Victoria's affair with him. Absolution is the one episode that brings us back on track for the big finale. Again, I like how they deal with the scandal around Daniel's mistrial and that the Graysons had their first kill on the show. I think this went a little unnoticed since the mess with introducing the initiative. And I really enjoyed introducing us to Gordon Murphy, aka the white-haired man. He really had potential and I was so disappointed that they killed him off that fast in season 2. There could have been an interesting dynamic between him and Emily. Especially because they made up this ridiculous backstory that he was the second husband of his mother. They could have explored this conflict with her mother having a whole other life without Amanda after she disappeared. That would have made great stuff for season 2. Even more, as we will see in the finale, that Gordon has some kind of soft spot for Amanda. But back to Daniel. I think this was his most interesting story arc besides in season 1. Maybe the whole show if you do not count his little redemption arc in the last season in. It really gets me how he is struggling here and Emily tries to push him in one direction while his parents are trying to do the same.
You talk so much about wanting to be your own man.
What if the man I am is no better than my DNA?
If you truly don't want to follow in your parents' footsteps, then don't.
If he had heard and followed Emily's advice, I think they could have had a real shot. As I said in my episode, talks would have been cool if at least one of the Grayson siblings had known about Emily's true identity and joined her vendetta against their parents. Yeah, both Charlotte and Daniel would have been a weak spot, and it would have been a major risk telling him the truth. But it would have also been cool seeing Emily destroying the Grayson family from the inside. I mean, she tries in season 3 during her short-lived marriage with Daniel. But it never goes that far. And for Charlotte, this much worn-out trope with her drug issues is no help here either. I must admit, for the most time of season 0, I was annoyed by her storyline and found her pathetic. Yes, I felt for her in that scene when Victoria pushed all that pressure on her. It was not fair making her responsible for Daniel getting out of prison or not. They should have all taken responsible for that.
You may have just sent your brother to jail for life.
But they could have been better ways to deal with this, like Mason told her.
Please take some advice from a man who knows a thing or two about selfishness and deceit. You don't have to go down this road. You don't have to be like the rest of your family.
She could have gone to Emily. Okay, she was very busy with framing Lee Moran and tracking down Gordon Murphy, but she could have helped her more than just this little scene on the Hollywood swing talking about their father being a good man in spite of everything. About the twist, David being killed by the Graysons, or the initiative. I think David coming back in the season 3 finale did not bother me that much because they changed his storyline a lot. Even before he was even a main character. I mean, I suspected that Conrad had him killed and was surprised Emily never thought of this herself. Because it was just a too good outcome for Conrad. Sure, David tried all he can to get exonerated and see his daughter again. So, the only thing that would have kept the conspiracy hidden was his death. Yet I hate that they changed this from Conrad giving the order to kill him and using Gordon Murphy for this to being forced by the initiative to do so. I still think it would have been better if they dropped this initiative plot very fast and went back to Conrad as being the great bad here. Just using the tools he was offered. I mean, who says he could not have been the head of this organization? Let's move on to the score for Absolution. We have the conclusion of the story arc with Daniel's murder trial. And we have also again some soap opera elements and plot twists involved with Emily learning about the real reason for her father's death and who was responsible for it.
All of the research that I did, everybody that I talked to, they said that it was just a prison fight. That my dad was knifed to death by an inmate. How did I not know this? The Graysons murdered my father.
Maybe the most intriguing flashbacks with David's death and his murderer before the big reveal in season 3 ruined that. We have Lee Moran's death, and even though he is not a main character, this has a significant impact on Daniel. And we get introduced to a new character, the white-haired man. Another very much intriguing character of season 1 was first introduced in the episode Charade. This episode is really juicy and has everything we love in this show. Drama around the Grayson marriage and Tyler still trying to stir up trouble for Emily and Daniel. Romance with the two, a sex video, and a new character who is bound to bring more trouble for Emily and her revengender. The only thing missing was dressing up. Cause the big event in this episode was an interview with Victoria and Conrad about their marriage anniversary. I like how they combined this with Emily's and Daniel's blooming love story. Who still looks like an advert for a dating platform. I bet in this episode we have some of the favorite scenes for Demi-Lee shippers. I enjoyed the two scenes in which both say I love you. That could have been very cheesy, but I think it fitted both characters how they played it out.
And why wouldn't you tell me you went to see him again today?
Because I didn't think it mattered. Jack and I are just friends, you know that.
A while ago, I promised you I'd be honest with you no matter what. I thought we both did.
You're right, I'm sorry. I'm just scared.
Scared? Scared of what?
I'm falling in love with you.
Emily used it as some kind of defense strategy while Daniel is truly open.
Remember how we met?
How could I forget? Spilled a drink all over your jacket.
I never had that jacket cleaned. I hung it in my closet to remind me that unpredictable moments can change your life if you're ready for them. I'm ready. I'm falling in love with you too.
And I just love how Tyler is trying to undermine their relationship in every possible way. The only thing that might could have been more effective was sleeping with Emily or making her hook up with Jack.
Sure you did.
If you think about it, Daniel must be really under Emily's spell in season 1. Cause both Tyler and Victoria constantly try to bring him up against Emily. Yet he stays on her side for the whole time. Maybe that was Emily's most clever tactic, using Victoria's suspicion about her and Tyler's misogynic views. Cause as we see in season 3 when Daniel pursues Sarah and does not want to marry Emily anymore. You only want what you either cannot have or people say you should not have because it is bad for you. Another worn-out trope, I know. But in Revenge it works. What also worked for me was how they depicted the decline of Conrad's and Victoria's marriage.
Hampton's most perfect couple. I don't know how much more of this I can stomach.
I think they could have been even more obvious here. Cos Conrad's affair with Lydia and Victoria's affair with David shows us that their marriage was already broken down before the downing of Flight 197. So their pretending and fighting behind the scenes was fun to watch.
Drowning in lies, all of us. Not even our children could escape the wreckage from this arrangement.
Arrangement? What, you mean our marriage?
This isn't a marriage, and I'm not sure it ever was.
Clearly not for you. Ever. I remember the way you used to look at David Clark. You have never, not once, looked at me like that. Not before, and certainly not after.
You have never given me reason to.
Well, perhaps I should count myself as lucky. I mean, look what happened to him.
And as I said multiple times in my episode talks, I love the ever-changing blame game in Season 1. In this episode and with this flashback, it seems as if Conrad and Frank are the driving force behind the conspiracy. They threaten and creep Victoria out with everything she fears the most besides losing David, of course. So it seems very much that she has no other choice here. And again, this scene is so good because they take the time and make us see how she is making this choice. Kudos to Madeleine Stowe in this scene.
We're gonna lose everything. This house, Daniel, I mean everything.
David Clark threatened my life. If I didn't do what he wanted, he swore he would hurt my family as well. I did what I had to do to protect them. I only wish I could have done the same for the people who died in that plane.
Last but not least, we finally getting introduced to the real Emily Thorne. I am still surprised how early they introduced here. For me, Season 1 was definitely her best cause. She still had those dangerous and unpredictable character traits they just wrote out in Season 2 when she became pregnant. Most juicy was the stuff with Frank finding Fomander, who worked in a strip club. I know that they went all the way down and checked all of the cliches for this. But it really was fun seeing her in this super typical stripper outfit.
Or use the cuffs. Or not. You look like a cop.
So do you.
I mean, most cliches have a real core. So, when the money runs out and you have a criminal record, this is exactly where most women will end up. At least she is no prostitute with drug issues. That would have been far too real and depressing and would not make her suitable to be Jack's love interest in the following episodes. Though it was kind of funny teaming the one most decent and boring faithful guy of the show up with this wild woman. But it worked even as she told him the lie of being Amanda. I was rooting for the two. 'Cause if we are honest, Emily does not really fit with Jack. At least before he catches up with the trauma and wanting revenge for himself in Season 2 and 3. Getting darker and more deceived by people made Jack more suitable for Emily, who already lost everything and went to hell and back in her childhood. But in Season 1 he was definitely not. More than Fomander, Emily would have eaten him alive. Now to the quick score check for Sherrod. Even though we have a new arch with Fomander coming to the Hamptons, this feels very much like a standalone episode. Yet we have that nice first flashback of Emily and Amanda in Cuvee. And we definitely have major soapy elements with the two Grayson pairings and Fomander working in a strip club. The shocking plot twist is obviously Frank's murder. And we get introduced to a new character. For the next one, Guilt, we jump 2 episodes back with Lydia's spectacular fall on the cabin and everybody dressing up for the Open Arms Gala. This was maybe the first perfect episode of Revenge. How they combined the past and the present in this intriguing mix, and the prologue was on point. But let's begin with all the layering meanings of guilt they use in this episode. First of all, we have these great flashbacks in which Victoria is trying to deal with her guilt, and we see at the gala that she had become only better in putting it away and disguising it.
I lost both my sons and my husband on that plane.
We have to help her. We have to help all of them.
It's not a good idea to draw attention back to the company. As far as the world is concerned, David Clark is responsible for that crash.
The world doesn't know what happened, and I cannot live with this guilt anymore.
Then we have Lydia's guilt as conspirator and her affair with Conrad. I just love her scenes with Conrad and how she is challenging him in this episode.
Otherwise
what?
How does this sound? The Graysons are incredibly powerful, Your Honor. I was intimidated into helping them frame David Clark, and then threatened by their head of security if I didn't comply.
You're bluffing.
Try me.
Last but not least, we have Emily's guilt.
But I run toward my guilt. I feed off of it. I need it. For me, guilt is one of the few lanterns that still light my way.
Who is not that big at the beginning of her mission. She is sleeping with Daniel for the first time and obviously struggles with the fact that she is no longer pretending to be in love with him.
They say vengeance taken will tear the heart and torment the conscience. If there's any truth to it, then I now know with certainty that the path I'm on is the right one.
Yet cares not enough for Daniel to tell him the truth. Her mission stands above everything else. Also, the tension and editing in this episode is beyond perfect. They really make us invest in Lydia's little intrigue here, and I like the twist with Tyler uncovering the truth behind the David Clarke trial. In season 1 they found always clever ways to combine even the supporting actors into the drama. Something they could never achieve in that kind of quality in the later seasons.
Lydia, aren't you dressed to kill?
Last but not least, the fashion was just marvelous. Victoria and Lydia wear my most favorite dresses from the show. And even though I did not like Emily's gown, the golden dress looks spectacular and shows off her very slim figure.
Victoria, you look beautiful. As do you.
Now the score for guilt. We have flashbacks and a flash forward. Yet again, this is also a standalone episode. Definitely dressing up and soap opera elements involved. The shocking plot twist is of course Frank's attempted murder of Lydia. And we have a major hookup for Emily and Daniel, who spent their first night together. I think with the next one I am impartial and many will disagree. But the flashback episode Legacy was some kind of my personal pilot because it was the first episode one watched. And I really love the idea of showing us more from Amanda's past, even though it was a typical filler episode and gave us no new information about the conspiracy. Yet it was intriguing to see how Amanda first gets involved with all the conspirators and Victoria of course. Funny that we have actually no scene with her and Conrad, but she manages to get close to Victoria twice. I think her obsession started here.
What are you coveting, sweetie? Is it the Dolce? Or what's underneath it?
And of course the sad story of poor Roger Halstead, who gets killed by Frank. By the way, I enjoyed how they managed to bring him back several times. Frank was not that intriguing, but the actor has quite a presence. And I really loved those emo vibes of teenage Amanda. It was perfect, giving her that kind of angry punk look. It really distinguishes this polished version of Emily Thorne she created for her mission to infiltrate Hampton's high society from the angry teenager inside. Nicely done was also her meeting Jack and Nolan. They re-establish the role of both men in Emily's life. Nolan as the protector and older brother who tries to look out for his little sister. Even though she is really annoyed by this.
What, are you following me now?
In this weather? More like tracking.
Don't you have any friends or family of your own to harass over the holidays? Now get lost, Nolan. I haven't had a guardian in 10 years. I don't need one now.
Who cannot relate to this if you have siblings? And then Jack as Amanda's first love. Speaking of Jack, his grunge look was not that good. Maybe they tried a little too much to show his background and make his look compatible with Amanda's. Now the score. Since the whole episode is a flashback, we have that covered very well. So 2 red Sharpies for the plot. Since the Sylvester party is involved, we have some dressing up and soap opera cliches involved with Conrad's and Lydia's affair. The shocking plot twist is of course Frank's definitely not first murder. Roger was surely no main character, but his death was important.
For a man with a penchant for writing letters, you would think that Roger would have left a suicide note. Oh, how convenient for all of us.
So 1 red Sharpie in the characters department. With the next 3 anyone will agree, I think. They just did not make it to the top 10 because we have so much more good episodes to come after season 1. But Grief, Chaos and the first finale are definitely one of the strongest episodes and my all-time favorites of season 1. The best is surely Reckoning, but let's start with Sammy's death in Grief. I really love how they combined Emily's breakup with Daniel, the loss of Sammy and her father in this episode. Surely losing Sammy symbolizes the loss of her childhood and the end of her romantic relationship with Jack. The only criticism I would have that there is too much going on in these last 2 episodes of season 1. We have Emily trying to hunt down the murder of her father, Jack's dog dying, Nolan being kidnapped, and the love triangle between Emily, Daniel and Jack coming to a conclusion.
Jack came by here yesterday, didn't he? Did you kiss him?
Yes, we kissed.
By the way, fitting that both lose cause. In a way, it is obvious that a real and honest romantic relationship can only be a distraction for Emily's revenge agenda. Look at season 2 and 3 when she is happy with Aiden. When the relationship goes well and they are at their best, her revenge is going sideways. Yet when they break up, without some major exceptions of course, her revenge game is on top. Anyway, the death of Sammy and her breakup with Daniel are 2 of my favorite scenes from season 1 cause they are so real and honest. Especially Sammy dying is so raw and heartbreaking.
He used up all his energy getting here. I think this is where he wants to be.
Even after all these years.
He's home.
I was starting to think he was gonna live forever. I can't do it. I don't know if I have it in me to say goodbye to him.
I have no dog, but I can relate since I have lost many of my pets' budgies actually. It always feels terrible.
Go on, Bill. Go play.
We're right here. Sure, what's one more secret? It's hardly the biggest one you're keeping, right?
What do you want to know, Daniel? I'm an open book tonight.
Jack came by here yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, his dog died. The truth is, I'm not really the person that you fell in love with. And you're changing too. I'm watching you become everything you said you never wanted to be.
What's that?
A Grayson.
Another great thing was the combination of these two story arches. While Emily is some kind of distracted by the chase after the white-haired man, Victoria is for the first and last time trying to turn her husband in and exonerate David.
Your father is guilty of heinous crimes, Daniel.
Please drop this whole thing. Tell McGowan you won't testify.
I can't do that. It's time for the truth to finally come out.
And what, to hell with the cost to the rest of us?
I've done some heinous things in my life, but now I have the chance to right a terrible wrong. And nothing and nobody, not even you, my darling son, will stand in my way.
I cannot believe that they did not make Emily aware of this. How cool would it have been if the two women had worked together in this? I mean, Emily really would not even have to give away her secret. She just could have been shocked about this and help Victoria to protect Daniel and Charlotte. I mean, they spin this like Conrad and Daniel are protecting the family because of the aftermath of that big scandal. But in fact he keeps Victoria trapped in this marriage with this lie. And she found a way out of this. So I admire her brave move here.
After all these years, the government is quietly building a case against Conrad and his role in the downing of that plane, not to mention what happened to David Clark.
Too bad they made her team up with Lydia and not Emily. Another funny thing, Nolan going undercover. I must admit it was more fun seeing him not succeed in this mission and being saved by Emily later.
Do you have a card so I can talk to your supervisor? Or tell him how happy I am with the service. Coming to fix a problem I didn't even know I had.
Practically a paperless company. Yeah, trying to offset our carbon footprint. We do have a website where you can submit a form.
I'll do that, Bert. What's your last name?
It's Simmons. You should have seen me. Hacked into an electrical grid, jammed a satellite, and paid off a cable guy. You'd have been proud.
I am proud.
And maybe the best prologue, Emily spoke with her thoughts about grief who are just so true.
They say grief occurs in 5 stages. First there's denial, followed by anger. Then comes bargaining, depression, and acceptance. But grief is a merciless master. Just when you think you're free, you realize you never stood a chance.
Now to the score for grief. We have the conclusion of many story arches. We have some major plot twists and a major break and hookup between Emily and Daniel, Jack and Emily with their first kiss. And we have with Sammy the death of a major character from season 1. Of course with flashbacks involved to make us feel the loss. For the next and last part of this mini-series we get to my top 10. Feel free to tell me in the comments below if you agree with my rankings so far.